Guardiola has been responding to quotes made in an exclusive interview with ESPN by Erling Haaland about the team lacking hunger. And he said if it's the feeling from Erling, the players should talk to each other and ask themselves why. Stevie, is that the right approach from the coach? Like, should players sort it out themselves, or is it down to the coach to instill that hunger within them?
Look, I think Erling Haaland was trying to say all the right things in this interview. He wasn't trying to be controversial. He was trying to be sensible and give some answers that maybe whoever was asking the question wanted to hear. And I think you can tell by Pep's answer that he knows that, and it was just lip service. I don't honestly think for a second Haaland thinks they lacked hunger. I think all the problems were completely different to that particular scenario. I think Haaland was just making a nice interview for whoever was...
Alexis
Yes.
Nunes, yes. Yes, Craig, what do you think about what Pep's had to say here, that the players should speak between themselves and ask themselves why?
Well, I think any player that lacks motivation... One former coach said to me once, he says, somebody once said to me, he said, you're a great motivator of players. He said, whenever I go into a new job, I get all the players and I sit them around and I get in the centre of the dressing room and I look around every player in the eye and I find out which players I need to motivate, and then I get rid of them because you shouldn't need motivated, particularly not when you're playing at that level. And as Stevie said, that wasn't Man City's problems last year. Man City's problems were they lost Rodri, they had injuries, some of their big players like De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and one or two others started to tail off. And so, in the end, Louise, I don't know about you, I don't think it was down to motivation. It was down to the fact they just were all over the place.
Yeah, I think that the frustration is much more than the motivation. I think that every player is motivated. Of course, when the things are not going well, the motivation goes down a little bit because you don't know how to manage those kind of situations. I think Manchester City has been for such a long time at the top, keeping that intensity, keeping that consistency. So for such a long time that you get used to that. And in the moment that things are not going your way, you feel that is the motivation. But I think it's more the frustration on the players that they couldn't get the results and they were feeling the pressure. That's the only thing. And again, sometimes players talk to the press in a certain way that is not what is being talked in the dressing room, or maybe it's been addressed in a different way, or it's been get it in a different way. So at the end, it's about managing what message you send, but I don't think it's about motivation, and less with Erling Haaland that we've seen when he plays. It gives everything in every single game.
But I will say one thing, when coming from this player who's been obviously great for Man City, and he's had a sterling career thus far as a young player. But if you remember back to the game at Tottenham, the Carabao Cup game that seems ages ago, when Tottenham knocked him out that night, and Man City were still pretty much flying in all competitions, including, I think, in the Champions League at the time. And Haaland was caught on camera along with Akanji and one or two others laughing and giggling as they were going out that competition, almost as if the Carabao Cup was beneath them. And how things turned very, very quickly as their season derailed, and all of a sudden they went out of everything else. So I think sometimes as a player you have to be mindful about which words you use when you're talking about your squad and your teammate, and which players are motivated and which players are not, particularly when you've been caught sniggering on the camera when your team have just been beaten.
All fair point, Checker?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, City have had their issues this season, quite clearly, which need addressing. I think players have a duty to hold each other accountable, as does Guardiola with his staff and his players. And the expectation of City, and they need to get back there. I think everybody has to have a little bit of a shift of mindset from what we witnessed during the course of this season in terms of getting back to where City expect to be, because at least now they know nothing is a foregone conclusion.